And here we go. People are doing recordings, and good afternoon, everybody. Okay, so these are one of the refresher webinars. If you are new to the groups, new to the Forex family, these happen on occasion. There's no rhyme or reason to why they happen. They just do. Some days I feel like doing a refresher. I think this week we had a large intake of new members to the Forex family, so I think what we could do here is we could go over some ideas, go over some discussion points with people. I made a little bit of a list of what I want to talk about, so in case you look at the list and you think that none of this is important to you, you can leave, record, watch it later. But I think what we want to talk about is trading plans, because everyone seems to have a discussion about that. The chat rooms, because that seems to be a hot topic lately. Let's talk about how we do analysis. That's going to be good. Talking about, just your personal ideas of trading and what you need to do. And then I'll open it up for Q&A. People have questions. Hopefully I have the answer. If not, I'll just tell you to go look for it. But let's talk a little bit about that. So here we go. Let's talk first. We're going to talk trading plans. I think a lot of the times, and just I've noticed it recently, there's a big discussion on trading plans and what should my trading plan include, and is this trading plan good or is this trading plan bad? Once again, the basics of a trading plan. So when you start looking at a trading plan, it's something that's going to fit your lifestyle. So you're either going to be a swing trader, I don't know if it's swinger because that sounds bad, or a scalper, right? Or you're both. The idea behind the plan is essentially what you're doing is you're trying to set yourself up guidelines, right? Because trading can get out of hand. The markets are open 24 hours a day, so you could technically trade 24 hours a day. But as a trader and as a retail trader, you want to put yourself in the best position to win. So that's part of your plan. So as you do your thought process, you say to yourself, okay, when am I available? And I don't mean, I can just show up at, 8:05 and I'll trade till 8:10. Give yourself like 1 to 3 hours, and you can get this shorter as you get better, but 1 to 3 hours of time to trade. Now, right away, everyone's gonna say, well, I don't have 3 hours to trade. Okay, but there should be a time in your day that you have 1 to 3 hours to do analysis. So if you want to look and you want to do your charts and you do 1 to 3 hours of analysis, maybe 1 to 3 hours of studying, you have opportunities there. So it's not necessarily that you have to be trading like this. You don't need that. This I would consider more imperative, right? So if we said what do I rank as the most imperative things, I would say 1 to 3 hours to do analysis, because what that allows you to do is when you're doing analysis and you turn around and you pull up your charts and you say to yourself, okay, I'm looking at USD JPY right now. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to realize that this was tomorrow as an example, Tuesday or Wednesday. You're going to find that you have opportunities, right? So if you were saying you were looking yesterday, remember we were looking yesterday and everyone was looking on Thursday's candle, right? So we turn around and we look at Thursday's candle, right? So this is Thursday's candle here. Okay, so last night you were looking around and it was, whatever your time was, maybe it was 10 p.m. Eastern, you came home from work, right? And you said, okay, I'm going to start studying the charts. You can start looking at this. You can start looking at this. You can start going through these various elements, right? And you can say, hey, there seems to be a recurring pattern here on the daily. There's a lot of rejection at this level, okay? So you can say to yourself, hey, I have to work all day tomorrow. Oh shit, that sucks, right? So big X, I have to work all day tomorrow. But I'm noticing there's a lot of rejection here. So maybe tomorrow, being Friday, we may go down, like, obviously we have because we see it, or we may go up past resistance into a new level. Where would we probably be going? once again, you turn around and you look at your charts, and you're doing analysis because this is you're building your trading plan. You're saying, hey, maybe we're going to go to this price level here. Okay, so what you're going to do, set yourself up a pending trade, in this, probably in this region here. Okay, you're far enough away, most likely, from your resistance level. Put it in the middle of this candle and aim to hit this target here. And you say to yourself, hey, that makes a whole lot of sense. If we're going down, we have a bearish trend now, set your pending order here and say, hey, if I can get it to right over here where my resistance level or my support level is, I have a bang up trade. I can put a pending order. You have a buy stop going up, sell stop going down. Okay, there's not a reason why you can't do this. The fear is you're going to be sleeping or you're going to be working and the trade's going to hit your stop loss. You're going to bounce, or it's going to go up the wrong way. It's going to hit your stop loss. So you know what? You turn around to yourself and you say, okay, well, how can I mitigate this while I'm doing analysis? So once again, as you turn around, you jump into your smaller time frames, you can start to see how sort of my levels are playing. But more importantly, when you're doing your analysis, like, what happened here? Where did that come from? Right? Those are the questions you have to start asking yourself. Hey, look, like something like that happened again here. Up over in this section over here, we're going up. We came up to this resistance level over here, but then we bounced down to this support level over here. Okay, so when you start looking at things, start identifying where you see information, where you can see big movements. Like, what happened here? What was this big movement? Look down at your MT4 time. You're going to have to do a conversion. Once again, I suggest you use a secret site called Google, right? So I'll put it out for everybody again, the secret site, Google. Right? So you go to Google and you turn around, you punch in the times of when stuff like that was happening. Over here, you look down. I mean, I can already start to see patterns. You can already start to see where stuff was happening, okay? And you can already start to see where things are making sense at that point, right? So now you know to yourself, at around that time, there could be probably a big move, right? So if you look, that's New York session, New York session, New York session, New York session. So you know that. But then you say, well, I'm not going to trade New York session, so here's London session, London and Asian session, London and Asian session. You have that opportunity to do stuff like this. So when you turn around and you look and you say to yourself, okay, I can't trade at certain times. Well, of course you can, because if you draw out your support and resistance, more than likely, if you plan your trades accordingly and you review the entire chart, you can put yourself in an opportunity to have positive trades. We come over here. If we don't break this level, right, as an example, where are we going? We're going down. How far could we be going down? Look left, right? That's what you're doing. So here as an example, broke this level, where are we going to go down? We're going to go down. You could look left right here. You could look left right over here. So there's opportunity. And if you want to, hey, you could say maybe looking left right over here. So maybe we're going to go all the way further down. But once again, you can see, even if you took a sell position at this level and you decided, okay, I'm going to put a sell stop in this level, it went up back to break even and it still followed down. It went further up and farther down. By that point, after, I don't know how many hours are here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, like about 20 hours, almost a whole day, there should be a point that you're going to check your trades and you're going to look at them and say, hey, am I in a good spot or a bad spot? Stop losses above resistance. Take profits just before supports. There's opportunity there for you. You just have to be able to address it. And when you look at stuff like this and you say, well, I don't have time to do it, this is what you should be doing. You should be analyzing charts, and you should be specifically looking in the sessions that you want to trade that you feel that will be most successful to you. So you know what, if we drop down even further, if we turn around and say, hey, I'm going to drop into the 15-minute time frame, and Ted, tell me where Actually, let me do this. This will be easier for everybody. Tell me where the New York session is, right? So you turn around and I say, okay, fine, I'm going to show you the New York session, right? So this is where I start looking at the charts, okay? And here's where I have no reason to be in the market anymore. Okay, there's no reason to be in the market. So if you turned around and said to me, okay, well, Ted, what are we doing this morning? You know, with USD, JPY, whatever it is, you know, once again, we've drawn out support and resistance, right? So this is our almost our daily support and resistance. More importantly, you start looking at your candles. What's happening here? You know, we had a dip. Okay, so it's Friday. We're going to range. So this is probably not a good time to put in pending orders, right? This is where you have to decide. If you don't have the ability to trade during a certain time frame, you have to say to yourself, that doesn't make sense to me. But more importantly, if we come off a support, a buy is okay. Looking left, where can you close? So when you start to evaluate, okay, where am I closing? And you can say, okay, if I took a buy at support and I'm looking for 10 pips, okay, so we took a buy, you know, right over here, you're looking for 10 pips. So you're at 890 or 89. So you basically want to go from 89 to 90. So when you look and you took a position here, and if you said, I want to go 100 pips, here you go. There were 10 pips. There's your 10 pips. And if you look across, okay, so 100, 100 here, 113 just to get over your commissions. If you look, there's where you tapped, okay? And if you said to yourself, okay, well, Ted, I don't want to take a trade yet. I'm going to start looking, you know, right into the North American session, right? So right where I mapped out, and I say I'm going to look in the North American session. Well, here you go. You got entries here, and at any given time, oh, shit. There's your 100 pips, okay? So there's your 100 pips at that point. You have that opportunity to say, hey, that's what makes sense, or you know that's exactly what you're doing. You know, you're looking at specific ideas and you're saying to yourself, well, you know, is that a possible minor resistance level, or sorry, yeah, minor resistance level. So you know that you're coming up to this point over here. When you look left, you have an opportunity to exit. What you're doing then is you're figuring out your range. Does your trade make sense to get 10 pips? Maybe here you only want 5. So if you turned around, took a trade for 5 pips, so if we turned around and erased this, and we said, okay, fine, we're coming into the New York session, and we took a trade for 5 pips, you can see we haven't gone too far up. We've gone up maybe, you know, 3 candles in 15 minutes. But more importantly, when we come to this point over here and we reject, you can say we've tapped this zone here and we've gone across. So when you do your analysis and when you look at specific ideas and when you look at what you're doing, it's so important to say, hey, there's opportunities everywhere, but it's how you prepare yourself to say, okay, where am I going to do the trading? And that means if it's a North American session, if it's the Asian session, if it's the London session, there's lots of opportunity for you to turn around and take trades at that point. Okay. So in addition to your trading plan now, you know, when we look at, you know, where you want to trade and how you want to trade, a lot of people were asking me, they were saying, okay, you know, Ted, how are you doing your risk management, right? So you're saying, I want to do a one-to-one risk management. So that means for one pip risked, you have 1 pip reward, okay? So if I'm looking at 10 pips, my worst case would be 10 pip loss. And then people say, well, I have a $500 account. How much should I risk? Well, once again, this is subjective. As a new trader, I always suggest people do 1 to 3% a day. Maybe you want to do 1 to 5% a day. That's fine. Maybe you want to do 1 to 10% a day. That's fine too. The issue becomes when you get to 8, if you say I want to get to 10%, if you get to 8%, maybe we stop for the day because you've essentially done $40 on 500. Okay, so that's a lot of money in terms of just managing your trades. Once again, maybe you turn around and say, okay, fine, Ted, I want to do 5% a day on $500. So essentially, your max risks should be 5% of your total equity. So you ask me, well, how do we calculate that? 5% times 50 or 500, right? So you turn around and you can say, hey, I'm going to get out my calculator and I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say, okay, what is 0.05 times 500? 25. So you know that you have basically $25 to play with. So you're either going to win 25, happy, or lose 25, sad. Okay? So when we look at that and we turn around and say, okay, well, what should I be doing with that? You have to look at that $25 as, anything in terms of what you're doing. So maybe you're doing, when we look at that and you say to yourself, okay, well, how do I then turn around and calculate what I want to do in my lot sizes, right? So 0.01 is basically equal to a penny, right? 0.02, no. So 0.05, you have now 5 cents. I don't know what you'll call it in the UK, but whatever it is. So when you start looking at that, you have to then decide, okay, if I'm going to do $25, if I divide that by 0.05, what do I get as a total, right? So once again, pull out your calculator and you divide 25 by 0.05. That means you have 500 pips to play with at 0.05 lot, right? Approximately. So some currencies may be a little bit less, some currencies may be a little bit more, but that's the idea. So you can say to yourself, okay, if I'm going to take one trade today, I can have a take profit at 500 pips or a stop loss at 500 pips, and I'm still within my risk management. But if maybe you want to turn around and you want to do 0.10 lot size, right? So now you have 250 pips to play with. So, maybe then you turn around and say, okay, I'm going to go to 0.5. Now you have 50 pips to play with. Okay? So as you start getting better as a trader, you can manipulate this information. So you can turn around and you can say, well, when I first started out, I was using 0.05, right? I was still getting my 5%. But as I got better as a trader, and you'll see this in the people that are trading well or that are stronger traders, they up their lot size. Right? Now we're doing 0.25. And now you have basically 100 pips to deal with, right? But what that allows you to do is it allows you then to say, okay, I'm going to only take fewer trades, but I'm still in the risk management of, my 5%. So this is still the same, but it's less trades, less positions. So you can manage yourself accordingly. And this is open to interpretation. So that's when people send me this. They're like, well, what do you think? Why should I do this? Why should I do this? It doesn't matter what you're using here. It matters what you're doing here. Okay? That's where it matters. This is to give you more opportunity. So if you're trading 0.01, you have lots of opportunity to trade. Maybe you want to trade all day, but you're still within your risk management, right? Because once again, people ask me, well, you know, if I turn around and I go over, am I over trading? Not really. If you're at your risk management and you're practicing, you know, whatever you're doing here, you can trade it till your heart's content. The opposite coin is more of the fact that the whole point of trading is freedom. So why do you want to sit in front of your computer for 8 hours a day? So this is where I want you to focus on, is I want you to say, okay, if I'm doing realistic numbers in this case, what can I do, and then how can I do it efficiently? What lot sizes do I want to use based on, you know, these principles here? You know, if I'm doing 8% or whatever I'm doing. Okay, so as you start to go through that, you start to realize, hey, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Well, you know, Ted, tell me more. And I'll say, okay, I'll tell you more. So now let's go through how to manage what you're doing in terms of your trading, right? So we turn around and we're back in terms of what we're doing. And you say to me, okay, Ted, I'm doing my trading plan. So my trading plan is USD JPY 5% a day, and I am trading Asian session. So I say, go test that theory. Aim for 5%, but track how much you are actually doing. Maybe for the first 2 weeks, you're doing 3% one day, 5% the next day, 1% the next day, you know, 4% the next day, 1% the next day. So when you start looking into this and you start saying, okay, what am I doing? So when you add this up, right, +3, +1, +4, +1, okay, and then you divide it by 5, you're averaging about 3% a day. You're not hitting your 5% target anymore. So this here is maybe a little bit bigger. So maybe this is more manageable. So now you have 3% a day. It doesn't mean that you can't go to 5. I'm not saying you can't, but if you're doing your history and you're looking at your tracking and you're getting this information, you are finding that, hey, this doesn't make any sense to me anymore. So why am I doing this if I'm only doing everything below that? You're setting yourself up for failure. So when you look at that and you say, okay, fine, Ted, I'm now figured out that I can only do about 2.5% a day, 3% a day. And we say, okay, great, you can do that. So, you know, you now chug along and you're doing your 3%, 3%, 3%, 3%, and you're like, trading is easy, Ted. I'm on my way. I'll see you later. You know, thanks for giving me the vault. I'll just go there when I want. Great. But what happens if one day you do 3%, then the next day you have like this super nice day of 10%? Okay? What happens there? And this is where people get confused. What I tell people to do is if you're doing 3%, you know, Monday, 3 Tuesday, you do 10% Wednesday. That's basically 3 times what you normally do, right? So Thursday, how much do you think you should do? And Friday, how much do you think you should do? Well, what I tend to do is if I've done a really good Wednesday or Thursday, I'll roll that over. So now I go change this to 3%. I add 3% here because now technically I've done that. And now what I have left over here is I have another 3%. Surprise, you know, Sunday, Monday, if that's when you're trading, which I don't advise, now you have 1% on that day. So you can see you've already done your goals for those 2 days. And this is where discipline and risk management and all that stuff come into play, because suddenly you had good trades, you know, the market ran really well, but you've completed your task for those days as well. So now you're like, hey, check mark. I've accomplished something, and I'm already ahead of the game later on in that point, right? That is what you're trying to do. You want to always stay ahead of the curve. Now you can say the opposite, and you can turn around and say, okay, well, if I don't want to just do, if I did my 10% here, now what you can turn around and say is, sorry, give me a second. You can turn around and say, okay, instead of Thursday, now I have 7% to play with. If you want to get technical, you can say I have 4%, right? Because 7 minus Thursday's 3 is 4. So now I have a bonus. So I can bonus to trade more. Okay? And then suddenly you can have all this extra. So you have multiple variations of what you want to do. And when you turn around and say, okay, what makes sense and what doesn't make sense? And you say to yourself, okay, you know what? That is my opportunity. And I can either do that or do nothing. So now the question arises is, what do you do when you lose? Okay, so you took a loss, right? So we turned around and we took a loss, right? So you were doing 3% today, 3%, and then suddenly you did minus 3%. Okay, that's fine. Your idea of risk management is you're doing one-to-one. So you either plus 3% or minus 3%. That's okay. So you've taken a loss. You're done for the day. Enjoy your day off. Tomorrow's a fresh day, just like every trade is fresh. The last trade, and this is the hardest thing for people to get over, is when you lose a trade, the market doesn't keep track of that. The market doesn't turn around and say, okay, Jim just lost 3 trades in a row. I am big bad market. I know he is upset, so I am going to kick him again. The market does not have feelings. The market is not alive. They will not do that to you. That is your voice, not the market's. So when you look at that and you did minus 3%, so you had a losing session. Go back, review what you did. Don't get upset. It's a lesson. Okay, so you turn around and you sold at support, lesson learned. Bought at support with no confirms, lesson learned. And as you start to write these items out, you say to yourself, okay, now I know what I'm doing wrong. I have to wait for more confirmation. I have to wait to make sure that I'm not selling at support, I'm buying at support, I have that information. And you take that rest of the day to study what you're doing. You can't get upset at yourself for losing 3% because you're not in a position to say, well, I lost 3%. You're always risking money. Anytime you're in the market, you're always taking risk. So you have to accept that there is a possibility that you could lose money at the same time. And I think a lot of people as traders expect to win every single time. And as you get better, there's no doubt in my mind you'll be consistent and you'll have days where it seems like there's weeks you never lose. And we have many people that are doing that. But you starting off will not have that, and you can't get discouraged. And that's where you turn around and I say, risk management is the most important thing. Because when we turn around and we look at risk management and you say, hey, like, what am I doing over here with my risk management? This is what's going to help you. Because you know what? You're within your risk. If you have $500 and you're risking 5%, right? I don't even know how I'm doing this. I'm typing on Word and I'm doing that. So let me do this instead. So, if you have $500 and you risk 5% a day, all you have to do is you have to look at how many times, and if you look, it's $25, right? How many times do you have the opportunity to have a losing day? If you were to say 5% a day, 20 days. So before you blow your account, you would have to lose 20 times in a row. 20 days, a month. So you're telling me that you are going to lose for a month straight? Probably not. If you lose 1 week straight, take 1 week off. 1 day loss, take a day off. Clear your mind. This is all subjective. This is all part of your trading plan. You can add this stuff too. If I lose, I'm done for a couple of days. I exit out of the chat rooms. I exit off social media, sit back and read a bit, evaluate the charts, maybe play along with the charts, see what's happening. That's the kind of stuff that you should be doing. You shouldn't put yourself into that. And then when people say, well, you know, I overtraded or I went above and beyond my risk management, well, you know, this guy shows up. You know who this is? This guy is the trading devil. Okay? He wants you to do more than this because then he gets happy. Because he's just taking all your money. So you have to fight him and understand this because this is long term. Okay? So when you look at things and you turn around and you say, okay, what makes sense and what doesn't, this is what you're talking about with your trading plan. And when you go further into this, there is actually a document in our drive that we have. So I'll pull that over here. And you know, and you look over here, you have all the projections that you want. So when you look at what you have here, starting off with $200, you can turn around and input the amount that you want, right? So here as an example, you can say, I'm going to do point, yeah, I thought I opened this. Sorry, let me see if I can open this up rather quickly. All right. So you can say to yourself here, I'm going to do 0.05. The start of my day is 200. Today I made $210. There you go, I did 5%. So as you start to go through and you start to, you know, pull, hoping this will work. No, okay. As you start to go through and as you start to say, okay, fine, so at the end of the day now I made $240, 14%. You know, when you're seeing that, you're seeing your percentage gain. So now you can see the projections on the other side of what you need to do. So now today we did 250. You know, you can see over here, actually, I think this is the one that I have to pull down. Yeah, so as you can see, if you turn around here and, oh, I have to add this in. Sorry, if you go, okay, I don't know why this is doing it, but there was a way to do this so that you could figure out how much you needed at the end of the day, and then you were able to figure out your gains. So, you know, here as an example, you did $40. Your balance over here should have been the projection here. So this projection should be coming across here where you can turn around and figure out, okay, where do I need to be at here on each day to give yourself that idea. I'll fix this because I don't know why it's not working this properly. It's probably because it's in Google instead of Excel. But the idea here is, once again, is this number right here and the day and your difference would then tell you here what you didn't need to do, and then you can see your percentage gain as you keep going. And if you're only supposed to go for 5%, it'll tell you exactly what you need to do. And once again, this is in your trading plans here. So you can see, okay, yeah, on this one it actually works. And you can see each one as you start to enter, you can see what you're going to do with 5% a day. So this one's probably, it's a better idea to show you this exactly. So with 10% a day, you can start to see how it adds up. And you can see by, in this case, this was done January 20th, and this was taken out Saturdays and Sundays. But you can see by February 28th, so almost, a month later, if you want to say month to month, you can see you've done $1,400 doing 10% a day. And if you did less than that, starting with 200, but essentially you've basically made 7 times your money. Nobody says that you need to do that, but the idea, once again, is if you build yourself something of this nature, you can see how the money compounds, but more importantly, it keeps you on track, and you don't have to go for $300 days over here. There's no $300 days, $20, $10. Like, you can start to see how, like, there's this little bit of increments, and you're going to always increase your lot sizes based on that to get those increments. So once again, people are going to turn around and they're going to say, yeah, people are telling me how to do the math on this. Yeah, I know. I should have done that. It just puts you into a point where you can say, hey, this is, where I can be or where I shouldn't be. There's a question here, it says, but trying to aim for any specific percentage per day, doesn't that set you up for failure? No, it doesn't necessarily set you up for failure, because what I'm saying is I'm saying do 1 to 3% or 1 to 10%. I'm just saying be positive, not negative. Always be positive. So if you're anywhere in this range and you're able to do what you're doing, you shouldn't have a problem. You shouldn't be upset with yourself. You're basically saying, okay, maybe one day I got 1% today because the market wasn't that good, but then other days I let my trades run and I got like 13%, right? So there's opportunity here for you to turn around and say what makes the most sense, but more importantly, what that does is it allows you to figure out for yourself exactly what you want to do and where do you want to be when you're doing your trading. And when you do that, it gives you somewhat of a target to say, okay, if I've gotten my 5% today, I can stop. Or if I only got 3% today, I'm okay with that. Not having a target at all, you're just running around and you're just trying to do whatever. Okay, so the follow-up is, yeah, but trying to always be positive when you have a losing trade or day, you start revenge trading. Well, no, you don't revenge trade, because you have a 1-to-1 ratio. Once again, if you were paying attention, I'm saying if you're doing 1% to 3% a day, you're risking 3% only. It's 1-to-1. So 3% reward to 3% risk. That's it. If you can't control that, that's on you. That's not on anybody. That's on you to do that. And you have to make sure that you are controlling that. And whatever you need to do to control that, whether it's controlling your risk, as an example, if we're going to control risk, so you're going to say, okay, get a job, stop trading and start studying more, and then doing these things. Once again, let me do this better. There is no rush. If you really think that you need 100K a month, you're sadly mistaken. Lambo, nope. You don't need that stuff, and that's what you're driven by. You're driven by these expectations of what you think you need. Most times when you are living right now, for the most part, as a human, you're not making this and you don't own that. Are you missing out on anything? That's what you have to try and figure out inside your mind is, you've never made 100,000 a month to begin with, so you're not missing out on it. You're here to learn and to grow, so maybe you only make a few $100s a month. And oh, sorry, people can't see what I was typing. So sorry about that. Like I was saying, when you have this, there's no rush. Get a job, stop trading, study a bit more. But making 100 a month, trying to buy a Lambo, You don't need that stuff because you don't have those items right now. And you know, when you look at exactly what's happening and when you start working through things, you start to realize what's more important. You know, as you build things up, maybe $50 a day is good. You have to remember the market's giving you free money, and it's putting yourself in a position to say, hey, the average bank turns around and gives me 1% or 2%. So you know, we can turn around and easily. Let me do something right now. Uh, let's see. So here you go. What's the rate of return I can expect on a savings account, right? So when you look 5%, 6.06%, below 1%. So really, at the end of the day, when I'm saying you're doing 1% a day, you're fine. You're doing whatever. The fact that you don't have a large account balance should not have any bearing on what you're doing as a trader. Excuse me. When you look at what you're doing as a trader, that should not have any bearing on your money. You're basically saying to yourself, sorry, I'm just opening it. You're saying to yourself, you know what? Because I only have $500, I'm not a good trader. That is what you have accessibility to. And as you grow and as you do whatever you do a day, you're going to have that opportunity to grow a little bit more and say to yourself, hey, I can do this while I have a job. You know, there's no rush. And maybe in 2 years from now, I have 200K, right? You have 200K because you were doing this on the side, you were just doing this as a hobby, and now you can start taking it seriously. The quicker you change your mindset to doing things short term, or sorry, long term, with just, you know, short little gains each day, the better off you're going to be. There are anomalies. Don't get me wrong. Maybe you run your account up. I don't know. Maybe you get confident. You know, when you get to 10,000, 15,000, the money comes a lot faster. So you know what? Suddenly now it's starting to make sense, and you know, you're able to do stuff. But what I'm trying to say is be realistic with the percentage gain every day that you do that gain. And that is what's going to make you successful, is your daily grind, your daily percentage gain, and what you're trying to do. All right, so I think we've sort of covered that off. Does anybody have any questions with trading plans off the top? Any questions? Let's take a look. I'll wait before we jump into something else. Going once, going twice. Oh, there we go, questions. It's not a question. Don't say thank you. I'm looking for a question. Jeez. All right. So trading plans, check. All right. Oh, we might have a question. All right. People are like, yeah, we're sick of you talking about this. Okay. Very good. The next is your chat rooms. Okay. So everybody that's on this webinar right now belong to a chat room, whether it's WhatsApp, all my groups on Facebook Messenger, some people are on Telegram. There's all these chat rooms everywhere. And you know what? Let's talk about chat rooms for a bit. And let's do that for a second here. Let's talk about chat rooms. Give me a second. All right, so there's a couple of questions there. Summarize, basically follow your plan, stick to a reasonable percentage. Smaller, bigger accounts aren't necessarily better. It's understanding and confidence that will get you where you need to be. And like I said, this is recorded, so you'll be able to see it afterwards. So chat rooms. Oops. You are in one. You don't need to be in 10. You don't need to be there all the time. You need to participate. You need to ask questions. You need to give full explanations of what you are trying to convey. Okay? Throwing up a chart does not help anybody. Do not toss random charts up with no description. Give the description first and your idea. Do not say, anyone check gold? Is it going up? Nobody cares. Do not say, hey, I just lost a trade. Sucks. Give explanations. Okay? This is the most common thing. Sorry, these things here are the most common things that I see in the chat rooms. We're talking about trades, where is it going, and oh, I just lost. And there's no context to those. You have to show charts. You have to provide insight and show the explanations before you drop the chart into the chat room. And don't take a screenshot of the chart that is like this, and there's like 3 candles, and be like, oh no, what's happening? We don't know. Okay, so rules for the chat room, and I can't believe I'm doing this. I figured this was sort of, you know, a straightforward situation here. But what I want to say is rules for the chat room. Okay, provide a chart with full info, and that means what your idea is, why you are looking to trade, take profit and stop loss targets. They don't have to be exact, but you have to give people an idea of what you're doing. And you have to be able to show people, hey, this is what I think is happening. This is what I want to happen. Do you agree or do you disagree? And can you give me some assistance? People will not, 1, give you signals. 2, say, how can I explain this? Say, it's guaranteed. People won't say that. People will say, okay, and what I say is, you know, is it part of your trading plan? Have you looked at XYZ factors? Okay, that is how we have to communicate in the chat rooms. And if you're in there and you're providing analysis, you have to give an overview of what you did and how you did it. Saying, I lost, I won, doesn't help anyone, okay? I don't care if you've lost. I do care in the sense that I will help you, but just saying that you lost is basically you just breathing air. It happens. You're going to lose. Saying that you won is the same thing as well. If you want us to critique what you're doing, you have to provide a full context of what's happening in your chats. And you know what? When you do that, you know, various chat rooms, like people are saying here, is if you're in WhatsApp, do it in the description box instead of the next box under. You know, with Facebook Messenger, with Telegram, we have editing software. You can take screenshots, type on top of the screenshots to give you more information as well. I really want you guys to do this, everyone in all groups, because it's going to help everybody. You know, everyone is going to be helped with this, okay? Because watch, I'm going to show you an example. Okay, let's do, oh, what the hell is this? All right, let me close that. Let me do this. Okay, give me a second. And okay. So this is probably not going to work as well as I think, but let's go over here. We've got a group going on over here. Like, perfect example. Okay, so let's take a look right here. Like, what is this? Nobody knows what that is. And we can't help you do anything here. You showed us a picture of something, and it's not going to help anybody learn here. So get a little bit better with what you do. Um, you know, so here's some information, and people are looking at stuff, and people have shown things. You're going through chats. I've provided some information. Here's some good ideas, right? So people are showing what's going on. Now if we give, like I said, your charts are clean, things of that nature, you're able to do that. So when we go up, and when you start going through things, okay, you know like, I don't understand what this is. Other people understand, but try and help each other as you start to go through things. Okay, so here's some ideas. Do we know what's happening here? USD JPY, 1 minute chart, took sell positions, stop loss. It's in profits. There could be a description for here, but this is another group. People are able to help each other. But in the newer groups, as you go through and as you start to see, yeah, you're famous on the webinar. So here, we'll go into another group here. Like, I don't know what's happening here. Like, we don't know what's going on. Like, what is this chart? We don't know anything about here. Like, there's a lot of things as you start looking at, we don't know. It's like, I don't know what's happening here. I don't have any of this information. So when you start going through stuff, like, what is this? Like, I don't know what like, I don't even understand what this is, right? So when you start looking at various things, see, like here we get some ideas. Like, people are posting, they're able to show ideas of what's happening, right? I'm not picking on anyone specifically. I'm just saying that, if you start looking at this verbatim, like, holy shit, who's this smart guy, right? Oh, look at that, that's me. Right? Because, like, I use an editing software, and I'm able to sort of give a little bit more ideas of what's happening. And that's what I want you guys to get in the habit of, is doing that. And, here's a good example. It's like, okay, great. We got some ideas. We know what chart this is. And it's like, hey, look, things were talked about. We got a zone there, bouncing around, doing stuff. You get an idea of what people are trying to do. And you can see that there are some examples that are good. And, at the end of the day, we have some examples that, probably are not as desirable. But I mean, once again, that's everyone's preference. Like I said, I don't want you to turn around and be like, well, Ted, I don't have this software. I can't do this. I can't do that. Okay, fine. I understand. It's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. I'm just trying to help everybody by saying, hey, if you can try and get some sort of formal idea of how to post charts, give a bit of explanation, it will help everybody, and it will help yourself too. And what it does is, it doesn't clutter up the chart. It doesn't clutter up the chat as well, because everyone's complaining too about the chats, that they're moving so fast. Well, they're moving so fast because people are posting like 7 different messages to convey one thought. If you can put all your thoughts in one message and then send it through, that'll also help the situation as well. Like I said, it's not perfect. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you can't do certain things, that's fine too. But what I'm trying to do is, maybe there's things that you hadn't thought about when you're giving suggestions, or you're talking about ideas. So I want to try and make it so that it's easier for everyone, and there's a more standardization in terms of how we convey knowledge, because you as the idea holder, who you're trying to show people what your idea is, you may be able to help others by giving that information, by giving your thought process, instead of just posting a chart and saying, this is what I think. Like, talking about your trading plan might give someone else an idea. Talking about your take profit areas might give someone else an idea for later on, for another idea, for another chart. It's very, very important, when you go through that, people can then look at it and say, hey, I have a full understanding of what you're doing. Here's how I can help you. And people are asking me, what editing software do I use? Once again, the extra ideas here, and we'll go through this rather quickly, because if you haven't gone through the Google Drive, you would have seen, when we go into the Google Drive very quickly, you can see exactly what editing software do I use. There's my magic screen editor in the vault. Okay, you can download it. It's free. all you need to do is install it with your internet turned off. So turn off your Wi-Fi, turn off access to your internet, install it, enter the key, and then turn your internet back on, and it's fully unlocked. There's no viruses on it. I scanned it thousands of times. I mean, it was put in the beginning of this year. It was actually put in last year. It's not the newest version. It's a version that makes sense, but that allows you to turn around. As an example here, I'll do it rather quickly. I drop down. I can do a snapshot, and I can say, hey, look, I can do this. I can draw that. You know, I can do this. I can draw lines. I can do whatever I want. Like I can change it. You know, if I want squiggly lines, maybe I want an arrow. Here you go. Here's an arrow. So there's lots of opportunity for you to do that, and you can turn around and do all that information on that. And it's attached to your screen at all times, so you can always have it, and you just pop it down. That's what's always on my screen. You see that little blue line? It's just so that I can access it right away and then make those changes. So you have the opportunities here to say, hey, that makes sense, and I'm able to then go in and make some edits. Now, once again, you know, if you don't have access to it, and okay, there's a question. You don't mean that? What do you mean to turn the internet off? I mean when you're installing it, because it's a borrowed program from the internet. So someone borrowed the key. Download it first, put it onto your computer, turn off the internet, and put the key on. So when you install it, it doesn't say, hey, you may not have been purchasing this item. Someone may have given it to you on the back of a truck. So when you do that, so that they don't realize it came from the back of a truck, and you're able to use it for free. So just keep that in mind. It's a cracked version. So you know, people are looking at that. That's all. It'll tell you in the instructions, but I'm giving you a heads up that that's what it's going to want to do. So hopefully that will give you some ideas on how to use the chat room effectively. People are also saying, can we stop a lot of the excess chatter? I mean, yes and no. You know, like when you have, you know, when you look at the different ideas, some people like to talk about things. You know, maybe it's a slower time in the chat rooms. You know, you'll be able to, you know, you'll see excess content, but that doesn't mean you can't change the topic. You can't set the topic up for yourself and say, hey guys, I have a question. Let's slow down on the off-topic stuff. We can do all this, and go to that idea. There is other people saying printscreen.com is screenshot alternative, and people are saying about the chat rooms. My chat room is going to be custom. We're building it all for mobile and all this notifications. You'll be able to attach your phone to it or attach specific emails so you can get a notification every time you want if someone mentions your name, someone messages you. So there'll be a lot of functionality around that. So it'll be a lot different. There'll be mobile capability as well as the internet. So it's going to be a little bit better. They're customized for what we need to use it for: posting charts, talking about analysis, being able to get a hold of people, private messaging, things of that nature. So we'll get there. You know, like this is you know, Netscape. We're in Netscape right now. Eventually we'll get to Google Chrome. Just give us some time. We got to go through the Microsoft Explorer phase. Okay, so let's all just take our time and do that. But like I said, if you're in the chat rooms and you miss a lot of chat, don't think that you've missed so much. You probably haven't. Asking questions again is okay. That are probably repeated throughout the day, because the chat room is for you. The chat room is so that you're able to work through it and you're able to work at your own time. It's a support group. Think of it as a coffee shop. You know, you come grab a coffee, you sit down, talk with people, then you leave again. Sometimes the chats are empty, sometimes they're quiet. That's okay too. I'm always sort of looking around. All the mentors are looking around their chats. Maybe, you know what, it's night, no one wants to talk, or maybe it's Saturday afternoon, the markets are dead, no one's in there. It's okay, but if you post something, chances are someone will see it and they'll get back to it. People DM me all the time. I answer them as well. But a lot of times when I say when people DM me, I want you to put it in the chats so that people can see the questions that you're asking, so that maybe someone else had a similar question. We can answer a lot more in that regard too. So it's just, you know, use the chats effectively. Try and really keep them going, because that's for your benefits. Being in 6 different chat groups is not going to benefit you. The idea is to work with one solid group so you guys all come up together. Try to jump in all these different chat rooms. You don't know, you know, how far ahead they are or how far behind they are. You're going to get confused. You know, people tend to work in groups and packs, so you know, it's something to keep in mind as well when you look at what you're doing in regards to the chat groups. All right. Okay, so I guess we'll do analysis and staying in your lane all at the same time. I think that's important. I think a lot of people, when they do their analysis, everybody has different ideas, different approaches. Excuse me. That's okay as well. You know, if the idea is when you're doing analysis, you once again you want to provide yourself enough information to make a proper judgment call. And once again, it's understanding your range. So let's go through this rather quickly. Let's talk about your range. Okay. So once again, if we're looking at this chart here and you're looking at your range, okay, and you can see right now, for the most part, we've ranged the entire day pretty much. So you could draw pretty much a resistance line there, and that would show you, you know, basically we went up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and now we're coming back down. So you can say that essentially 112, oh, I can actually use a proper chart. So give me a second here. You can say for the most part, this would probably be your resistance level for the most part. You can say your range here, we've got 112, 120 to 111.91. So when you look at that, you're looking at basically 20 pips, okay? So there's not much to work with. So if you're turning around saying, well, I need to get 40 pips today, and I say that there's a 20 pip range, so from here to here is 20 pips, how the fuck are you gonna get 40 pips? Enlighten me, because I don't get it. The idea behind trading is to give yourself the most profitable setup. So 40 pips, cancel that. There's no 40 pip range here. There's no range to get you 40 pips. Your 40 pip range is up here. So when you see this happening here, you have to cancel that idea. And you have to say to yourself, okay, what makes more sense for me at this point? If I can't get 40 pips, I have to then maybe get 5 pips, right? Because if you turn around, once again, if we're looking rather closely at this time frame, which is the 15-minute time frame, 5 pips, you know, we took a sell, there you go. There's your 5 pips, right? We took a sell, you got 100 pips, okay? Go all the way to support, you've got 17 pips there, okay? There's nowhere here, from here, we can do the math exactly. You've got 22 pip range, okay? And that's providing you call the top and you hit the bottom. As a probability man and as a gambler, doing from here to here, good luck, Marco, okay? I rather do from here to here. So I have buffer, right? There's buffer room here. That is what's going to make you profitable in the long run. Being able to take a piece of this action and giving yourself buffer up and down here, yeah, sure, we could probably tap that, but we see a lot of the information over here as giving you more, you know, more of the meat as that. Give me 1 second. Let me just plug in my headset. Sorry about that. I had to plug in my headset. It was dying. So when you look at stuff like this and you turn around and you say, okay, well, I can only do 5 pips. So maybe you take 2 or 3 positions. Now you got 15 pips. So you're a little bit closer to your 40 pips. Okay? But once again, if you're doing this and you say, well, I don't want to trade on the 15-minute chart, fine. Jump into the hour, and now you can start to evaluate a little bit more and say, hey, maybe this now can probably come up to here, okay? So now what we've done is we've given ourselves a bigger range because now we're working off the hourly, okay? So when you look at this and you say to yourself, okay, well, now what's my range? Now we're coming up to 38 pips. So now you can see how you give yourself a little bit more help. And if you say, okay, right now USD JPY is looking a bit bearish, right? Because you can see we've come from down here, we're continuing up here. So there's potentially a good shot that we will make it to this point. But once again, you can put yourself and look left and say, we're probably going to have issues there. We're probably going to have issues there because there's rejection points. You know, we have a rejection point here, so all this here. So you know what, your take profit, maybe it's going to be right about over here. Maybe you don't make it to here, but maybe you do. So you know what you do? Open up 3 positions or 2 positions, have one with a conservative take profit, and then have one for your home run. Maybe it's going to keep running. And as soon as you get to this point over here in the middle, move your stop losses to above break even, you're good to go. You know, it's not a big deal. You can run 2 positions at the same time. When people always ask, like, why not just do 1,000 lots? Right, and then you're just sitting there waiting, and it's doing this. Right now, if you've done 2 positions, you have a couple going with you, right? So you can say, hey, I'm happy taking 5 pips here. This one is now at 5 pips. I basically secured 5 pips. Sorry, 5. I've secured it, right? Check mark. Now I have basically 5 pips to play with. And I can say, okay, if I go down 5 pips, maybe I want to go down a little bit more, and I can still break even for the day, or I can lock that up and I can add 5 pips plus another 3 pips, and now I've done 8 pips for the day. Okay, so there's lots of opportunity. It's how you manage your trades, and what you're looking for is what's going to make you successful in that regard. And if you're able to do that, and you're able to focus on, hey, where's my range and what's making the most sense, you'll find that it makes life so much easier. Because if you're working off a 15-minute time frame and you're looking for 40 pips, it's very, very hard to do that. But if you're working off a 15-minute time frame and you're looking for 5 pips or 3 pips, it's very, very doable. It's very possible. So now suddenly your win rate will increase. Instead of saying, oh, you reversed all the way back to take profit, and reverse the stop loss, then everyone will turn around and say, hey, you didn't have enough range for it to get to where it needed to be anyways, and you had to open up your take profit and your stop loss to give yourself that opportunity. Okay? Final note, staying in your lane. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. You're going to see people in your chat rooms that are making money hand over fist. You're not. It's okay. We all have different learning abilities. We have different learning styles, different learning curves. There's some people here that are brand new. It's perfectly okay to do that. It's perfectly okay to say, hey, you know what, I don't understand what's happening, but I'll get there and I'll understand it. If you turn around and try and start copying somebody else because you see them taking trades or whatever they're doing, you're setting yourself up for failure. You have to be able to trade with your own understanding. People message me all the time and show me charts from other people and say, well, how did they take this trade? And I look at them, I don't know. Or why did they do that? It's counter trend. You always say trade with the trend, Ted. I don't know. They were comfortable doing it, and you have to release yourself from the angst of others trading and you're not knowing what you're doing. And you know what, you saying, well, they're not following the rule, like you said, trade with the trend. I don't care. You shouldn't care what they're doing. Don't be a tattletale. You know, if you want to understand what they're doing, ask them directly. Message them. Anyone in your chat rooms should be your friend by now. You should all be adding each other on Facebook, or you should all be accessible, because you guys are a team now. You guys are working together. You're a family. So you should have that, you know, hey, you're not going to creep people. You know, you're not going to look at people's pictures and shit. But hey, if I've got a question, can I reach out to you? We've got a registry now in the database, or in the vault, and once again, I'll show it to you. You know, you have a registry here, and people are filling it out magically, and there's people here that, you know, contact me, yes or no. Some people have said yes, some people have said no, some people left it blank. But you know what, you can see their IG, chances are you probably, you know, their Facebook name, stuff of that nature. You know, you can reach out to them and say, hey, you know, I have a question, and there's something, you know, I want to learn about, or I want to do something. You know, there's an opportunity there for you to learn and to expand your knowledge. And as we build the chat room and as we start doing other things with the new groups, you'll find that everyone will be sort of together, and you'll be big family. We'll all be reunited. But I mean, use them to your advantage. Take advantage. Everyone's trying to learn the same thing. Everybody's working. There's not somebody in the group that I've met that's like, no, don't bother me. I'm some Scrooge in my corner just working alone. A lot of people find it really exciting that others want to learn from them. I get a lot of compliments that people are excited that there's the new traders are mixed with some of the veteran traders. A lot of the older traders want to be in the newer groups to refresh their thinking, to change things up, and they can add insight. So use people to your advantage and ask questions. Don't be offended if someone asks you a question because they don't understand your thought process. They're going to want to learn from you because they see something in what you're doing that can help them. So be gracious. And it'll also teach yourself a lot about your own trading, because answering the same question over and over again, people say, Ted, how do you have patience for that? It elevates your own trading because now you're regurgitating some of your knowledge, but you're re-emphasizing it. You're looking at it in different ways. You're getting tested on your knowledge, and that's important. So take advantage of the chat rooms. Take advantage of the fact that you have a lot of like-minded people working with you. And I mean, at this point, you should be, comfortable at that. So, with that being said, you're a week in. I think everybody's having a good time, and I think you know what, you'll continue to enjoy the company of each other. I mean, it was a large group that did come in, so it's a little bit busier than normal, but we'll get through it, and I don't doubt it. Everyone's settling in, and we'll go from there. And like I said, all the other groups are functioning very, very well, and we'll go do that. So I will open it up for general questions on any of these topics, or just things in general. If you want to ask me such things on a Friday afternoon, because it's going to bug you all weekend, but go ahead and type in some questions if you have an idea. If not, I'll close this down in a couple of minutes, and it'll be recorded, and you guys will all have access to it. All right, I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to throw questions in. If there's no questions, this is amazing. That means I've answered a lot of questions of what people were talking about. Very exciting. All right, could you please show an example of what you would say a confirmation is? Okay, so this is one of those things when you look for confirmation. We can go through it rather quickly, and I'll show you some ideas. Okay, so all right, let's go through this question first. Okay, so confirmation. So I'm going to trade USD JPY today. Okay, so when you turn around, let's do this. Here's my main area of trading, right? So we'll break this down a little bit further into the chat. Yeah, so we'll go 1 hour. So here's sort of my 1 hour charts. I'm going from a certain time frame. Once again, I'm building out my session first. I'm figuring out my confirmation. So once again today, I was looking at gold. I took a sell, so I'd be taking a buy with UJ. So drop into my charts. This is my 6:30 moment. Okay, 6:30. Here's where we tap support. If you're trading 15-minute charts, once again, I'm looking for a couple of candle confirmations. But what I'm looking for mainly is, where would be my minor resistance? Because this would have already given me an indication. If I started trading from this section over here, this already would have given me an indication that this is a point of rejection, because we've had all these rejection areas here, and now essentially those wicks have been filled. As we pull down here, we've filled that wick. So when you turn around and you say, what are my confirmations, and what I'm looking at rather quickly is, once we have this candle come down and then this next candle here, chances are we're dropping to this support level. That's a good 30 minutes of confirmation in a shorter time frame. We probably have, for myself personally, I have enough confirmation to take a sell, more likely to ride it down. Looking at the times of the candles are important because we know we're at 8 a.m., which is the US Open, so USA Open, and then eventually 9:30 a.m., which is 1600, which would probably drop us below support at this level, and I believe it did. So let me drop into the shorter time frames, break it down a little bit further. So let's break it down. All right, so let's see if I can catch that whole. So once again, so here you go. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to figure out right here, but you can see things that I've already highlighted. Here's your big resistance area on the 1 minute charts. And as you start to drop, you can start to see how there's more confirmations in the shorter time frame. If I'm trading off the 15-minute, once again, these are your execution points. You're looking at that, and you're still at your support level. So when we get to this support level and we bounce back up, you know, you can say, okay, maybe we're coming to this level again, so I'm going to take a buy. As long as we don't break, we broke a lot, right? So you might get stopped out, but as long as we're not too far deep, chances are we're probably going to get filled. This also then comes to, you know, where are we in the markets, okay? So with the 1 minute charts here as an example in the markets, you know, here's your USA Open, or your New York Stock Exchange Open. You can see we dropped all the way down. We tapped here, pulled all the way back up, but we never came to this level here. So you know what? We should still have bearish momentum. Looking at our higher time frames, start taking sells when you have that. So as you look for confirmations, you're looking 2, 3, 4 candles, depending on what you feel is you're comfortable with, and that's what you're looking at. But once again, you're being aware of your support level, and you can see if you bought support after, you know, about 10 o'clock, 10:30, when the London market was closing, we had further uptrend. But once again, this is a 1 minute chart. So when you go into the higher time frames, you have to look at these charts at 1 minute. You have to be able to do the same thing in your hour charts, and also, you know, your 4-hour charts. It's going to be the same style of trading, but just longer confirmations, longer ideas. So, you know, if we're trading the 4-hour chart, once again, 15 minutes, right? So our 15-minute chart, as soon as we tapped support, taking buys. Just because we pull back doesn't mean now we're going down. It just means that it's the market doing its thing. It's breathing to get some more momentum to go further up. That's all we're looking at, because our higher time frame bias will always support us. And here's a big liquidity wick on the 15-minute that rifled us right back up into where we needed to be. We tapped a resistance level, pulled all the way back down. Using support and resistance, these levels will give you information. And once again, I'm using these charts, I'm using these lines, this line here, this line here, and this line here to guide me. Maybe you need 4 lines, maybe you need 3 lines, but the idea is you should be able to see, hey, this seems to be a major resistance area. I could probably take a sell to this level here, and I just need a couple of candles to give me that information. Your point is you have to really map out your levels so that you understand where you're moving in the market, okay? Because if you don't do that, you're stuck. Perfect example. Okay, so this one still has a, you know, if you look at this, I don't know what's happening. How could you even see what you want to do here? There's nothing, there's no guidance to tell you that, hey, this is a support level, right? Because if you turned around and you looked, how would you know this is a support level? You don't know that information. And as you start to go through, oh, whoops, now it is. So when you start drawing out your charts and you look at the higher time frames, that's what's going to give you that information to help you to build through that. All right, so there's more questions. Let's see, where's the question box? Here they are. How can I get that opened? It's weird. Can someone just pop in a question quick so I can get that box again because I just closed it and I don't know how to open it again. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so can I start putting my charts and my ideas about DAX 30? Of course you can. You can put whatever you want in there. Do you think USD JPY has enough volatility to trade on Asian? Yes, of course. It's JPY, Japanese currency, Asian. Of course it has enough volatility. It might not move as much as you want it to move, but it will move. Okay, so Ted, if the daily time frame market throws a large wick into resistance but looks like it could go higher, how do you trade that? Well, what you're doing is you're looking to see the overall momentum of the candles. That's what you're looking at, is your overall momentum. Just because the daily has created a wick, you have to look and see where you are in terms of your support and resistance. That wick is not going to be the one point of resistance. There's going to be more information on your chart looking left. Okay. How's the brokerage coming? Good. Should I go to the group and throw ideas? And someone there would advise me on those ideas. Of course they will. That's the idea of the groups. If I am starting, would it be better to scalp or swing? I want to incorporate trading style into my plan. You have to, once again, we talked about that in the beginning, you have to figure out what type of trader you are, and that's what's going to help you there. Okay. Should you match currency with the open type? In the London session, trade the pound, and New York session, trade the US dollar? Yes. I want to see your opinion on my understanding of master candle from the vault tutorials. Okay, well, let us know that. How long do open pushes last for? We don't know. If we knew that, we'd be able to do that. All these questions about when does this happen, or how often does this happen, or why does this happen, if we knew all the answers to that, we would be all billionaires because we'd be able to predict each time something was going to happen. We don't know. We can only use probability, and you as a trader have to go and back test that and say, hey, what happens at 8 a.m. every day? How much is there a push? What does the market look like for it to push? Today was Friday. The market barely moved. There was no point of really trading today. You were really, really tight when you traded. But yesterday, the day before, we had a lot of movement. So that's something to keep in mind as a trader as well. So it's you know, there's no exact movement for that. Okay, I posted pictures of my chart and questions on the group chat. Great. I've seen different answers online depending on what time of year it is, but what exactly time does the UK session close? I've seen 11 a.m., 11:30, and 12 noon. Once again, it depends on daylight savings time. Okay, we have daylight savings time, other countries don't, so that's when it'll shift. Okay, so you just have to maintain that idea, and when it comes around to that time of when it's closing, people will be able to help you. But you know, coming up into November, we have daylight savings time. You know, back again in spring, daylight savings time again. So that's what you're trying to do. Okay. Yeah. So last Sunday in October, everyone's giving me answers. Great. I don't keep track of that stuff. But that's the idea, is like you'll know when those markets are closing. There's also various market timers, clocks, things you can download off of Google that will tell you when the session's closing, how much time is left in the session. There's a lot of information that you have available to you. Sometimes just Google the answer and you'll be able to find it, and it'll be able to help you at that point as well. All right. Okay, so with that being said, I don't see any more questions. Oh, I do. Am I going drinking tonight? No, I'm going gambling. Let's see. All right. Okay, so I will drop this in everybody's vaults. All the mentors will have access to this. Enjoy your evening, guys. Sunday we'll look to do more information in terms of analysis, but guys, stick into studying and everything. Oh, there's a question here. Why do you say subjective a lot? Because it's exactly what it is. It's subjective. It's your interpretation of what's happening. Everything in the market is subjective. There's no exact answers. If there were exact answers, we would have exact formulas to solve the market. We can only use probability and deduction and experience in the market to give ourselves the best answer. Because if I say it's going to do this and it doesn't, people will say, well, you're wrong. And what I'm trying to say is that there is no right or wrong answer. There's only a mostly right or a mostly wrong based on percentages, right? And it's still a gamble. That is correct. All financial markets It's all investing is a gamble, is a crapshoot. That's exactly what it is. Don't let anyone tell you differently. People say Forex is gambling. Going into the stock market's gambling. Same thing. You buy blue chip mutual funds, you're still gambling. You don't know what those people are doing. You don't know what they're investing in. All you see is a track record. Who knows? If there's a crash in the market, you've gambled away your money. You don't know. Every type of financial transaction is gambling. Until you are running the market, it's a gamble. Can we start trading live now? I don't know. You can trade whenever you want to trade live. Because of my time zone, I can't trade any session opens. Okay. I just explained that at the beginning of the webinar. You'll be able to review it again, and it will give you the answer. We specifically dialed in on that. Okay. So I will continue on. Oh, there's more questions. Okay, I thought we were done, but we're not. Do you use correlation analysis to forecast? What is that? I don't even understand what that is. Correlation analysis. Like, I use support and resistance. I look at what the market's done over the last few days, and I make a judgment call in, are we going to continue in that direction to a specific level, or are we not going to move into that level? That's all I'm looking at. I'm trading two specific pairs. I'm not doing anything. All these tips and hints and this correlation and that, it's a lot of information and it's a lot of noise that could confuse you. Keep things very simple, and as you get better, ask, why, and start asking yourself why. I learned a lot of this stuff just by doing. I didn't have someone to ask questions about. I didn't look at what other people were doing. I just looked at what I was doing because I was comfortable with what I was doing. So you really have to focus on just the simplistic nature of what we're doing. At the end of the day, the markets have been around for many, many years. They didn't get tougher in the way that people do analysis. The markets got tougher in the way that entries were coming in, the amount of information that was flowing. The charts always have still looked the same. You can go back years and you'll see the exact same movements. You'll look at what we're doing. I mean, all you have to do is go to the weekly. Like, look at the weekly. Here's the weekly on USD JPY. I mean, you can see, even if you turn around and do this, the market has a structure. You can see we can look right away, and you as a trader, here, look, here's probably a key support level. Like, you don't even have to know anything about what's going on in terms of, what's the news today, what's the weather, all this. All I have to look and say, hey, we probably bounced off that, we did, and we pulled all the way up. If you turn around, look at the next point, probably over here, major resistance level, right? You have multiple points over a week. Now you've seen, you tapped a little bit higher, okay, but we came back down, pulled up, and now we've dropped all the way through back down to support again. It's very simplistic on what you're looking to do, and it's just very important for you as a trader to arm yourself with the information that you need to make yourself successful at that point. And I think you as a trader have to block out all this noise about what's going on, how to do this, how to do that, and focus in on exactly what you want to do and how you want to do it. And don't worry about this indicator, this tool, that tool, this. People are always looking for shortcuts. There's no shortcuts. It's putting the time in front of the charts to give yourself the best advantage you can have at that point. All right. I think I don't have any more questions. All right, there's USD and JPY, USD and pound follows technical better for London Open. They both follow opens. Probably the pound JPY would be better for the London, and USD JPY for the Asian. I mean, you have to look at what the volume is at that time, and if you have questions about when to trade the best pairs, once again, if you turned around and you said, okay, well, what's the best pairs to trade? We can do this. I can turn around and we can look and we can say currency volume Forex. Okay. You can see right here. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Um, you can see here uh, foreign exchange. You can turn around and say best pairs to trade Forex in London. You know, you can do this. Look, like it tells you all this stuff right here. Like all I'm doing is Googling. You know, you just Google and it tells you all this information. Like a lot of you think that there's some magic here that um, highest volume pairs Forex. Like you can see like what people are doing. The average trade. Like you can do all this stuff yourself, and you can figure out what's happening and the volume, what's going on. You can look at all this stuff, and all you have to do is just Google and figure out what makes sense for you. I mean, you can see, the currency, all the strength, all the correlations. This is stuff you guys should be doing on your own. I shouldn't have to tell you to use Google. And that's the sad part, because you guys want to be successful and you're not even thinking critically to say, hey, what makes sense? Like, are there information here that can help me additionally to what I've already given? And I've given a lot of this information already in the vaults. It's already all there. You just have to go and actually take the time to look for it, because you'll be able to say, hey, that makes sense to me, and or I was able to find out a bit more information there. Okay. What do I need to look for an entry? You have to understand your plan. We look at it and we've said, build out your plan. What is your plan for the day? What is the plan for your pair? And then provide charts, and you're basically buying at support and selling at resistance. That's all we are doing. You have to put in the time to look through the charts and understand where your entries are going to be. Your entries aren't always going to be perfect either. You're going to have drawdowns. Maybe you're going to get stopped out. Each one of those is going to be a learning experience. You will not have anyone tell you in any groups, any mentors, where to place a trade or where to take an entry or to take an exit. It's impossible. And the reason why it's impossible is because I'm not thinking about what you're thinking. You're not thinking about what I'm thinking. You see something different than I see it. It's very, very important that you just put experience and time into the charts at that point. All right. Sorry, this question is for me, but to focus on a specific pair and make a trading plan and backtest, but thanks anyways. I'll do a backtest over the weekend. Very good. Backtest over the weekend. Okay. Oh, another thing. People want simulators. So here you go. All right. So this is a simulator. Okay. People always ask for simulators. It's like, oh, I need a simulator, Ted. Tell me a simulator. This is your simulator. This is a simulator. Okay. Software. What I want to talk about is, don't ask any of your mentors how to fucking use the software, okay? You go see this hot chick, she will show you how to use the software. I'm not a hot chick. None of the mentors are hot chicks. They will not help you use the software. So you have to go in here and click software. Choose Forex Simulator, MT Trading 4, whatever you want. Okay, Forex Simulator, new. Here you go. How it works, where you get the information from, tick by tick data, use your broker's data. It tells you where you need to go, importing data. It gives you all the information, how to download, restart, disable, start new simulation. So you have to go and read this. Asking people to do work for you will not make you learn. You know what you're going to ask me? When you run the simulator, how come this pair did this over here? What do you think of this situation? That's the questions you're going to ask me with the simulator. You're not going to say, well, I don't know how to use the simulator. This is where you want to do this. And if you have problems, hey, someone's as nice as me. All your questions, okay? You can even go visit him. He's in Poland. Go see him. Stop by his door. He's at Krakow. Marcin, Say, Marcin, I don't know what's going on. You are confusing me. Speak to Marcin. None of the mentors can help you build this program. I am not a programmer. I don't know. Now, here's the thing. If you want to look and when you turn around and you say, okay, I want to buy soft Forex, right? So you have the software. Okay. You're going to see it costs money. Okay. So we're all going to see this. Costs money. So you're going to say to yourself, shit, where do I buy it? Oh, $99. Oh, shit. $99 is expensive, but you get simulator on 10 accounts. So if you find 10 friends, it's $10 a piece. Everybody is happy. Give a friend $10, share the simulator together. One person buy it, you all pay it. Okay? You can do that. Download. Full version, download. So when people ask me where it is, simulator, soft Forex, download. Buy now. Find 10 friends. Be happy. Okay? So there's just really, I'm just trying to show you, and I know people are laughing and a lot of people are making comments about how funny this is, but it's not funny. And the reason why I say it's not funny is because if you can't do simple things like this, how do you expect to trade and be successful if you can't think on your feet on how to find things on your own? If you're always going to ask the most simplistic, basic questions, without even like looking up something, you know, Forex simulator, what's the best one? I really want you guys to focus on bettering yourselves, and that's the most important. And the key for trading is being able to find answers on your own and coming back and saying, hey, I found this great information. Let's talk about it, you know? And this is the thing, like $99. Oh shit, I don't have $100. Find fucking 10 friends. Like this shouldn't be a barrier to entry. You should look and see if you can get people together and do that. And you know what? You're able to help yourself in that regards. And just, you know, sometimes you have to ad lib. Sometimes you have to just figure out like what makes sense to you. I really want everyone to succeed, but when I see questions of like, well, what pair should I trade in the Japanese session? It's like, well, you know, the Asian session, the logic dictates. When you're up, that's probably the most activity. So if you live in Canada or the States, and you're up during the Canadian time zone or the US time zone, chances are that pair is probably going to be good to trade. In Europe, if you're in the UK or Europe somewhere, chances are that euro or the pound is going to be a good time to trade. Think about when you're up working, everybody else is too, and so is the currency market. The only difference is here we can overlap, we can trade at nights, you can trade 24 hours a day. It's just try and just use common sense and try and just put yourself in a position to help yourself, and then, you know, people will be successful because you're going to now ask questions based on the work that you're doing. You're not just asking questions because, you know, you're basically saying Ted is Google, and you know, I'm not. See, I don't even come up in Google. Like if I type in Ted is Google, oh, TED.com. But there's no Ted is Google here. So I just want you guys to realize that and just help yourselves in that regard. So with that being said, let's shut her down. I will have this recorded and uploaded, and everyone can enjoy their Friday evenings. So have a good night, everybody, and we shall chat.